didn't notice that. Oh, did you see that? I baked
did.
it. Welcome to the Tailgate, brought to you by Verizon. 5G built right from the network more people rely on, only on Verizon. I'm Michelle Margaux alongside Ralph Vacchiano. And Ralph, for the second time this season, both the Jets and the Giants won in the same week. And the last time that happened, twice in one season, was 2016.
I know, it was a long, long time ago, and you have to go back even further to find the last time that they both won on consecutive weekends. That was December 22nd and 29th in 2013. I was much younger. I'm not 100% sure you were born then, but it was a long time ago. And if you're waiting for that to happen this week, you may get hell freezing over, pigs flying, and all sorts of crazy things happening before I think you'll see the Giants and Jets win back-to-back. I think, honestly, if it happens, they should think about a ticker tape parade.
Let's get into a New York state of mind and welcome in Bleacher Report's Connor Rogers. And Connor, the Jets offense was, get this, the best in the league during Zach Wilson's absence, but they did win on Sunday. Were you happy with the way that Wilson slid back in?
I mean, obviously, out of the gate, he struggled. He looked a little skittish. But I think most importantly, it was good to see in the second half him settle down a little. He didn't throw the game away in the second half at all, which was a problem early on in the season. You want to build consistencies now. You want to see him settle down. But he's obviously got a long ways to go. And an offense under Mike LaFleur right now that is looking a lot better.
You know, I'm willing to give Zach Wilson one game like this, but overall, obviously 14 of 24, 145 yards, 266 yards of offense is not nearly enough for a kid who was selected number 2 overall in the draft. We're at the point in the season where even with that time off, we need to see this start to get better. We can't keep the bar really low and just be excited every time he doesn't throw away the game or, oh, look at that, he made the right read even though the throw was terrible. We obviously know the offense is improving. Let's see if he can improve too. Let's see if he can get a couple of near 300-yard games, a couple of games with multi-touchdown passes. You know, just start to look like a quarterback, and, you know, I don't think he's quite there yet.
Well, Mike LaFleur was the target of a lot of different Jets fans' rage during the first couple months of the season. Connor and then Ralph, has he figured out how to make the most of his offense?
Yeah, he's getting there, and he's a first-time play caller. He's a young guy in general, so you expect it to be a learning process for him, and it's no shock that he's been much better since he's been up in the booth and not on the sideline. And to be fair to him, and I know it's hard for fans to see on the broadcast, there were opportunities on film early in the season that the offense with the rookie quarterback, they were not executing. There were plays left out on the field. So when the backups come in, guys that are veterans, right? Even Mike White's been in the league a couple years. It's no shock that the execution got better. Now Zach Wilson really needs to keep that going. But LaFleur has been one of the big bright spots for the New York Jets this year.
Yeah, and I think he was definitely the biggest beneficiary of those 4 games without Zach Wilson because it proved that his offense and his play calling can work. And with, you know, 3 really questionable quarterbacks, they were able to move the ball with some consistency. It obviously wasn't great. They have a lot of issues that they have to work through. But I think that they got the sense that what Mike LaFleur is doing, his knowledge of this offense, his knowledge of calling plays, will be good once those plays are run correctly.
Ralph, speaking of hell freezing over and pigs flying, the Giants are a game out of a playoff spot. What?
Yes, Yay. It's playoff fever in New York. This is the sad thing that passes for playoff races around here. We will take anything we can get. They're in like 14th place in the conference, and they're talking about the top 2 picks in the top 10 of the draft, and yet they're still in this playoff chase. It's really kind of a miracle.
Well, since the playoffs are a long shot, and we are all aware that the chances of Dave Gettleman coming back next year are pretty slim, let's turn our attention to the head coach, Joe Judge. Ralph, do fans think that Joe Judge is the right coach to turn this thing around?
Well, I think fans right now are pretty much down on everything that has to do with the Giants. I put a Twitter poll up, and it was about, you know, close to 6-4 in favor of firing Joe Judge at the end of the year as opposed to keeping him. I don't know that they quite know what to make of it yet. They want to believe he sounds and looks like a, you know, Tom Coughlin mold type of coach, and he's a tough guy, and, you know, the team plays hard and all of that. But the bottom line is his record stinks, and, you know, they're only in the playoff chase these 2 years because the playoff race stinks. So I don't know. I don't know that Giants fans know for sure what they like and what they don't like, other than Dave Gettleman, who they don't like and want him gone. I think with everything else, they're just up in the air about this whole operation. If you could give them a better option to coach, they'd probably take it. If Joe Judge comes back, I can't imagine most people are going to be upset about that. They just want something better every day.
Let's call an audible and head back to the Jets and head back to the draft. Connor, once you get past Zach Wilson, does it look like Joe Douglas actually knew what he was doing this past April?
Well, let's be real. This class is going to be defined by what Zach Wilson does look like the next 3 years. But beyond that, it's been one of their best in recent memory. Maybe even you're looking at like 10 years or something like that. And the fact that, Elijah Moore has really turned it on recently and can be your future #1 wide receiver and really affect every aspect of the game. He can run the ball. He can stretch the field. He can run after the catch. Elijah Vera Tucker has probably been their most consistent offensive lineman, and he's a rookie left guard. Michael Carter, obviously on the IR right now, but he's looking like he can handle a big workload and make things happen at running back. And the young corners, not a lot of day 3 corners in this league are asked to step in and start out of the gate from week 1, and they've held their own. You're pretty much taught in scouting that if you get a 3-player draft class, that's really good. This is looking like it could be bigger than that. The fact they got starters, something that they could not do during the Idzik era, something they could not do during the McCagnon era, is a huge win for Joe Douglas.
I wonder at times if we're getting a skewed view of this draft class because all of them are being forced to play, and the bar with the rest of the Jets team is low enough that we see a guy succeed a little bit and we think, wow, this is great. Now, I don't know that that's the case. It may be that a lot of these guys can play because right now, UConn is right. This class looks really good. Maybe the biggest one is Elijah Vera Tucker, the guard they traded up for in the first round. I talked to scouts about him a few weeks ago for the Jets pregame show, and they were just raving about him, his intelligence, the power that he has, and the footwork that he has. He plays like a tackle at guard where he can move with the best speed rushers and still overpower them in spots. He looks like a guy who's going to be starting at that position for a decade.
Connor, the Jets have 2 high draft picks coming up. What names should we be watching for, and what positions do you think that they need to address the most?
Yeah, right now the draft order is hilarious with the Jets picking like 4 and 5, the Giants picking back-to-back in the top 10. If this thing was at Radio City, everybody in New York would be going nuts like it was the Super Bowl. So Morgan Moses is a pending free agent. Mekhi Becton has essentially missed the entire season. We'll see how they handle George Fant. So you can't rule out offensive tackle again. You really can't. You have somebody like Evan Neal at Alabama who's played guard. He's played right tackle this year. He's been a complete star at left tackle for them. So the fact that he can play anywhere along the offensive line and he's a top-end talent, a no-brainer top 5 pick, is going to be very intriguing, even though the Jets do have needs elsewhere. A lot of people are going to look at corner like Derek Stingley, Kaiir Elam from Florida. I'm not convinced this is a defensive staff that will sit there in the draft and say we need to use a top 10 pick on corner. And then you look at it, it still feels like they need another playmaker. You have Garrett Wilson. I think he's the best wide receiver in the draft out of Ohio State. He's a complete star. Maybe you like to pair him with Elijah Moore for your future. The Corey Davis money isn't, you aren't stuck to that for 5 years or anything around there. It's really 1 more year of guaranteed money. A lot of people like Tyler Linderbaum, the center from Iowa. That would feel like a transition like they went Kevin Mawai, Nick Mangold, where you have your center for the next 10 years. A lot of different options for the Jets, and it's a good draft class for what they need this year. That's the most important thing to keep in mind.
I go back to what Robert Saleh had said. We were talking to him about the needs of this team, and he said that with Joe Douglas, if you asked him, every one of his picks would be offensive linemen. Yeah. And Saleh said, if you ask me, every one of my picks would be defensive linemen. So you know how the two of them think, and it's just basically a philosophy for both of them that you win games in trenches. And, I wouldn't be shocked if it was 1 offensive lineman, 1 defensive lineman in their top 2 picks. You get that pass rusher, you get somebody for Zach Wilson, then you figure out everything else. But the Jets obviously have plenty of needs as well. What I find fun about this with right now the 2 teams picking, 5, 6, 7, 8, or whatever it is in the draft, obviously that could change, but both of them with 2 probable top 10 or top 15 picks, is you could make the same case for the Jets that you can for the Giants. Offensive line, defensive line, those are their biggest needs.
Let's get into victory formation. And Ralph, did you see the video of the Cowboys fan that had a not so great Thanksgiving?
It's just 37-33. It's alone! Your macaroni's disgusting, Maya. It looked pretty good. And your turkey wasn't done.
Well, we all love watching videos of these fans smashing their TVs and fighting with their families. But where is the line drawn between being upset that your team lost and then ruining Thanksgiving for everybody else?
There's a line? I wasn't aware there was a line. I'm surprised that it actually takes sports to ruin Thanksgiving for people. There's so many other things that you can just politics, just sometimes just generally being there could turn Thanksgiving upside down. So I don't know if you're that upset about sports. I gotta wonder about you sometimes. It is a game. It isn't real life, but For some people, it is everything to them.
So where's the line? You didn't answer the question.
I don't know that I don't know what, I mean, don't smash the TV on top of the turkey, I guess, would be the only line I could think of. Other than that, have at it. Don't throw food. Somebody might be enjoying it. Although, get like a little flick of mashed potatoes with somebody, it's a pretty good shot.
I think my line, since you asked,
The
line that I draw is if you have money on the game. I mean, like, then it's like,
then it's okay to bawl like a baby and scream at your relatives?
Absolutely.
Oh, that's
Absolutely.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to coming to Thanksgiving at your house next year then.
You're welcome for the excuse. All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode of The Tailgate. For Ralph Vacchiano, I'm Michelle Margaux. We'll see you next week.